and start funding your future. Call them at 303-695-7000. That's 303-695-7000, or visit them online at americanfinancing.net. NMLS 182334, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Colorado's 150th birthday. What do you even get the state that has everything? Wildflowers, sunshine, 4 seasons in a single day? Seems like that's covered. How about the new 150th birthday scratch game from the Colorado Lottery? It's loaded with $150 prizes for you and helps give back to Colorado's great outdoors. Happy birthday, old buddy. Don't remember you celebrating my birthday, but I guess you're the big shot here. New 150th birthday scratch. Must be 18 to play.
Hey, it's Philip Lindsay here. Do you need a new roof, gutters, or exterior needs? Monarch is your one-stop shop, backed by 16 years of experience and over 10,000 satisfied customers. Their in-house insurance team fights for you, and their white glove service means every detail is handled with care. Competitive pricing, award-winning craftsmanship, and the only roofer the Denver Broncos chose to endorse. A proud member of Team Dave Logan, make the call to your home team, Monarch Construction and Roofing, the official roofer of the Denver Broncos.
For 90 years, Belco Credit Union has proudly called Colorado home. That's thanks to all our members who have helped us grow alongside our beautiful state. To celebrate our anniversary, Belco is offering a special low fixed rate on a new home equity choice line advance. If you've been waiting to start a new home renovation project, now's the perfect time. Go to belco.org/90 years to see full offer details. Equal housing opportunity lender. Membership eligibility required. All loans subject to approval. Belco. Banking for everyone.
Questions about youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit organization, develops better athletes and better people through youth and high school sports. Info at positivecoach.org.
KKFN and KKFN HD1 Longmont, Denver. Powered by Regen RX. It's The Drive with Zach By and Philip Lindsay. Welcome to Denver Sports Tonight, taking a look at the biggest stories in Denver sports. From your online home for the best opinions and information on the Broncos, Nuggets, Avalanche, Rockies, and more. DenverSports.com.
It is Denver Sports Tonight on this Wednesday night in the Mile High City. He's Dante Gomez. I'm Will Peterson. We will roll with you for the next hour as Broncos training camp is off and rolling. We are in the acclimation period. First official day will be Friday, but let's call it what it is. Today was day 1 of training camp. The Broncos practiced. A bunch of our guys were out there watching, and Sean Payton met with the media for 24 minutes. We'll get into some observations from camp as the show goes on. Dante was down there, our eyes and ears for us here on DST. But I want to begin with Sean, because anytime the head coach has his first press conference of the season and it goes for 24 minutes and he's in a good mood, there is plenty to unpack from it. And Jonathan Cooper was the topic of conversation. Out there practicing today. He got arrested twice in the span of 8 days, spent the night in jail twice in 8 days, and facing some very serious allegations, including a felony charge. He will have an arraignment date at the very end of August, and we will see where things go from there. But here was Sean Payton today on the latest with Jonathan Cooper.
We're staying the course with the league. We're staying the course with league protocol, club protocol, relative to what we're advised to do. He's been fantastic working away from the building, and we'll continue to do that and monitor it. We're supportive and yet very much aware of, the seriousness of these type of things. But pretty much what I said in the spring, there's a schedule and a course to this, and that's what we have to follow.
So he's supportive, went on to use the word proud, said he was proud of the work Jonathan Cooper has done in the last 6 weeks or so. And to Jonathan Cooper's credit, Mike Kliss broke that story that he's been taking counseling very seriously, therapy, general mental health, well-being, lots of classes, courses. Jonathan Cooper understands the magnitude of what he is accused of doing. So I will never, disparage someone for getting help, seeking help, asking help. But this is tricky. I don't know if you saw it, Dante, but Troy Rank wrote a column in the last couple hours that said Broncos ownership is putting their reputation on the line with the way they are handling Jonathan Cooper. And this is not just someone in their mom's basement throwing a blog up. This is Troy, who's very well respected, done this for an extremely long time, columnist over at the Denver Post. Read all of Troy's stuff. I got the impression today, you were standing there, curious your thoughts, Jonathan Cooper's on the football team. Jonathan Cooper will be on the 2026 Broncos is what I took away from Sean saying they are supportive and proud of the work he's been doing.
Yeah, it sounds like he's going to be on the football team till the NFL steps in, until the league steps in, and that's the route that they're choosing at this point. It's nothing new in professional sports. We see this all the time where we're going to, and it's America's kind of slogan as well, innocent until proven guilty. So they're going to let the legal situation play out, and then at that point the NFL will step in, and maybe the Broncos themselves will step in. But it sounds like as long as this is still undetermined, he's going to be out on the field playing and participating in practice, full participant today.
Yeah, and with that arraignment being at the end of August, Mike Klis has said on these airwaves multiple times he thinks the trial might not be until 2027. And we know Cooper has a great attorney in Harvey Steinberg, guy who has represented a lot of Broncos and Broncos family members over the year. The list is literally like a dozen people long. And I guarantee you this, Harvey's going to say, well, my client's got a work obligation through the middle of February, Your Honor. We would like a trial in March. We'll see if the judge grants that or not, but I can guarantee you, for someone who didn't go to law school, you didn't have to pass the bar to understand that's going to be their legal strategy. They're going to kick the can down the road.
I think they're going to try to push it off until next offseason and then figure it out then, but it sounds like it's full go for the Broncos at this point. I'm a little surprised that the Penners didn't step in and maybe be a little hesitant with the situation going on. But again, like I said, you see it in sports all the time. As long as there's nothing barring him from being at practice or participating from the league, then they're going to try to use that to their advantage and keep him on the field. And he was a productive player a year ago, and they're hoping they can get the same production, maybe even better this year.
And you mentioned the Walton Penner family ownership group. Here was Sean Payton asked about if he reads all the police reports with Jonathan Cooper.
I've read all of it, and I don't have any comment on the specifics because I think when it's finally finished, we'll all have a better feel. So, it's unfair for me to answer any of those questions right now without having the totality of it finalized. And I think it'll come sooner than later.
And went on to say, wasn't in that answer, but he went on to say that Jonathan Cooper has met with himself, George, and Greg. So you bring up the owner of the team. There's 90 guys on the football team right now. I promise, not every one of them is getting a one-on-one with Greg Penner. He's a too busy man, too powerful of a man to have one-on-one meetings with every single player. But in the case of Jonathan Cooper, this has reached the level of ownership where Sean Payton admitted today at the podium, yeah, he's meeting with me, he's meeting with George, he's meeting with Greg. So this is definitely has their attention. But just to be fair to Troy, the exact headline was Broncos' support of Jonathan Cooper puts ownership's reputation on the line. The risk in ownership placing faith in Cooper is enormous, Troy says, and for me, it's not worth it. So I assume Greg has considered this. He's met with Jonathan, and as of now, he is keeping Jonathan Cooper on his football team.
Yeah, and we've seen teams go down different avenues with this. Was it a Lions guy, Terrion Arnold?
Yeah, he got cut.
The co-host of Patrick Surtain's podcast. He got cut pretty quickly into the process. His seemed to be a little more cut and dry with what was going to go on there. So still a lot up in the air for Jonathan Cooper. Honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if we don't even get a full resolution to this and they end up settling outside of court, something like that.
Yeah, it could be. If they want to avoid some details that are not so flattering coming out, best way to do that, don't have trial. They don't come out in trial, you settle out of court, and maybe Jonathan Cooper writes a big check but avoids, any sort of jail time in the legal side of things, and then we'll have to see if the NFL ultimately suspends him. So Cooper dominated it today, but I found it funny, and I'm not throwing shade here, it goes to show you that this is pretty much a dead issue to the media as I transition here. He got one question about Bo Nix in 24 minutes. Like, whoa, we're having 24-minute press conferences and we're asking one question about the quarterback who just had 2 ankle surgeries. Here's what Sean had to say about Bo, and the question was framed in terms of taking a leap forward in year 3.
Next step is kind of cliche. I mean, he just finished winning 14 games and having a really good season. I think he's going to continue to improve? Yes. Man, I'm pleased with the shape he's in, and the timeline relative to everything we've discussed injury-wise is falling into place. It's good to have him back out there in the team periods. And I think there's certain areas for us offensively that can help with the quarterback, a consistent run game throughout the year. There's some things that we can do to help him. So we're off and getting started.
So, yeah, only one question about Bo Nix, but that was an important 30 seconds. And I wrote about this at DenverSports.com because I love the way he started that. Said the next step stuff is kind of cliche. I mean, he just finished winning 14 games and having a really good season. I thought that was Sean Payton reminding everyone, this dude won 14 games. We went to the AFC title game, and yes, ESPN can rank him 18th, 19th, or 20th on the QBs with C.J. Stroud and Daniel Jones. But in the one and only chance that Sean Payton was afforded to talk about Bo Nix today, he definitely made sure to sneak in there. Oh, by the way, he just finished winning 14 games. We don't need to talk about next steps. He had a great season last year, and I expect the same this year.
See, I read it a little different. I like that he acknowledged that there's room to grow for Bo Nix, and to me, that's what I've been trying to say about Bo Nix. I got labeled a hater by the midday show for saying that Bo Nix is probably not a top 10 quarterback at this moment, probably not even top 15, top 14 at this moment. So I like that Sean acknowledged that there's a leap to be had for Bo Nix.
But hold on, I got the full quote in front of me.
He's not a finished product.
All he said was, do I think he's going to continue to improve? Yes.
Yeah, well, that's my argument as well, is that...
But that wasn't 30 seconds about Bo's going to get so much better. That was the only thing he said based on what you're going on here. If he said there's room for growth. The exact quote, do I think he's going to continue to improve? Yes.
Yes, but that's my whole thing, is that he needs to continue to improve. He's not a finished product. If he plateaued at this point in his career with not the wins, everybody would take 14-3 every single season, but if you continue with that quarterback play for the rest of his career, I don't think that you'd be too happy with Bo Nix. I think there is room to grow, and I think that he needs to get better.
Bo was nails last year, particularly in the fourth quarter. Bo was a huge reason they won 14 games. Like, you're saying if Bo Nix plays like he did in 2025 and leads 14-win teams, we're going to be disappointed? I'm not going to be disappointed with that.
I'm saying the quarterback play itself, not the win total.
I thought Bo was perfectly fine as a sophomore QB last year.
If he never throws for 4,000 yards, you'd be okay with that?
He will at some point throw for 4,000.
Well, that's my point.
But what do you care about more, 4,000 yards or 14 wins?
14 wins. I'm saying the win total is great, but I'm saying he's still – I could use a little bit more yards, a little more touchdowns in there.
But that was kind of Sean's point. I want to remind everyone this guy won 14 games. Sean is very online. We know that Sean is hyper aware that ESPN's poll disrespected Bo Nix. I mean, we're putting him in the same breath with C.J. Stroud and Daniel Jones in Tier 3, and we're saying the entire 2024 draft class that can actually get on the field is better than him. Not McCarthy and Penix, obviously, but, the top 18 QBs, or I guess top 17, all featured Drake May and Caleb Williams, both in the top 10. Jaden Daniels, who didn't do squat last year, is an honorable mention, and Bo Nix gets lumped in also receiving votes. So
all those guys have better playoff numbers than Bo Nix, but...
Well, Bo Nix played in 2 playoff games. He's 1-1 in those 2 playoff games, and he outdueled Josh Allen last year. So
I'm just saying,
not really sure where you're going with that.
Drake May has more playoff wins. Jaden Daniels has more playoff wins. Caleb Williams has the same amount of playoff wins with more yards.
Okay, Drake May was terrible in the playoffs last year. Absolutely atrocious.
I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying that they have better playoff numbers.
Jaden Daniels had a magical run his rookie year. I'll give you that. But he reached the exact same phase that Bo Nix did, which was the conference title game. Jaden Daniels lost a conference title game. Bo Nix was not allowed to play any conference title game. And Caleb Williams, he has a couple fun throws, I guess, for the Bears last year.
I'm not saying that Bo Nix is bad. I don't think he's better than Jaden Daniels. I think Jaden Daniels is going to struggle with his health for the rest of his career. He's just too
do
slight.
think he's better than Jaden Daniels?
I think Bo Nix is better than Jaden Daniels.
Okay, you said I
might have said it backwards there.
Yep.
I think Bo Nix is better than Jaden Daniels, but I would still take Caleb Williams and Drake May at this point. And the playoff numbers that I just spoke to would speak to that as well. More yards and more wins, except for Caleb Williams, who is tied with wins with those guys. But
Drake May was bad in the playoffs. Like, at some point, the eye test has to come into this, right?
That's fair.
New England did not reach the Super Bowl because of Drake May.
3 top 5 defenses.
Yeah, and improved kind of everyone's criticism. He was a product of a soft schedule. Because when the schedule got tough in the playoffs, Drake turtled. He got carried by a great defense.
Game, except for the Super Bowl.
He didn't do anything to win here. Jarrett Stidham gifted the Patriots 7 points that day. Drake May was responsible for 3 New England's 7 points, or 3 of New England's 10 points in that game. But what about this? Man, I'm pleased with the shape he's in. This is what we just heard from Sean. The timeline relative to everything we've discussed injury-wise is falling into place. Good to have him back out there in team periods. But there are certain areas for us offensively that can help with the quarterback, a consistent run game throughout the year. There's some things we can do to help him. Maybe a bit of a message in the latter part of that answer to the running backs, almost to Davis Webb, maybe even to Sean himself of like, we don't have to put everything on Bo's shoulders. We do need to rely on the running game. A little ironic coming from the coach who wrote run it on his play sheet, but I think Sean Payton subtly there saying, let's get Bo some help in the run game, because when J.K. Dobbins was healthy last year, the run game did complement Bo Nix nice. Problem is, as soon as J.K. Dobbins got a Liz Frank injury, the running game fell off a cliff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate Sean Payton acknowledging that a strong run game is going to help the quarterback. We've seen that with Jim Harbaugh everywhere he goes, from Michigan to Los Angeles to San Francisco, even if you go back that far. A strong run game is going to help out your quarterback. Nobody can do it all by themselves. Maybe Josh Allen. Well, actually, Josh Allen has a strong run game with James Cook. But no one fully carries their team that way. You need some complementary pieces. And I'm happy that, again, Bo Nix led the NFL in pass attempts last year. I don't think, based on that comment there from Sean Payton, I don't think that'll be the case this year.
Yeah, I would hope not. Bo Nix leading the NFL in pass attempts is not healthy for anyone involved. To me, the guy who leads the NFL in pass attempts is the dude, it'd be like Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, because every game's 45-42, and he has to just throw because his defense is so terrible. The Broncos' defense is too good for Bo Nix to be leading the NFL in pass attempts. All right, so that was Cooper. That was Bo. Let's get to the Super Bowl thing, though, because that is sort of the big question because of what Sean did 358 days ago when he told Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports it's a Super Bowl team. And everyone, I remember that day it happened at camp, everyone's like checking their phone going, what did Sean say? How many lattes did he have? Here's the thing. The reason that was surprising is because they were the 7th seed the year before. They were 10-7. They went into Buffalo, competitive for 2.5 quarters, fell apart, lost to the Bills. That caught everyone off guard. I think if Sean Payton this year went to a national publication and said, we're a Super Bowl team, no one would really blink. Of course you're a Super Bowl team. You went 14-3. You were the 1 seed in the AFC. You should have gone to the Super Bowl if your quarterback did not break his ankle. It wouldn't exactly be life-changing news if Sean Payton said that to anyone in the national media. So our own Zach By asked Sean, hey, last year you were super forward-facing and open about the Super Bowl message. Is that the same this year?
Fair question. I think it's more focused on maybe some of these items that we were just discussing, coming off a successful season. Certainly, this is a team that understands or has expectations of playing in the postseason, and yet there's still that journey that starts again. So, and look, this messaging, it's not every day. It can come once every 4 days. There's a topic. Yesterday, with the initial team meeting, it was hitting some of those bullet points that can play against these odds, for instance, of so many one-score games. Where are the areas that we really got to look at ourselves and say we can improve here? Yeah, so I haven't stood up there with the Lombardi Trophy yet and said, hey, not yet.
Haven't stood up there with the Lombardi in front of everyone yet. So clearly Payton isn't talking about the Super Bowl at this moment, but I think it's almost unspoken, right? Each player is aware that the realistic goal this season is hoisting that Lombardi Trophy. The head coach doesn't need to make it a point of emphasis every single day, and I think that's the mark of a good team. One that realizes a championship parade is a distinct possibility, and Sean Payton doesn't have to mention it over and over again. Is that what you took from that?
I did, and it felt like last year he was installing that confidence into this team where, hey, Super Bowl is on the board, guys. We are that good of a team. He doesn't have to say that to this year's team because they know that they are that good of a team where they can go out and win a Super Bowl. So it's more of an unspoken thing, as you mentioned there. And maybe at some point in the season, that'll become the messaging of the cross the finish line. But when you're a good team like this, you know what you're capable of. You just got to go out there and play your best football the way we saw a year ago.
Yeah, and Sean loves to talk about how everyone must start over. That's a hallmark of him every single year. We've gotten to know Sean Payton more and more as his tenure with the Broncos has gotten longer and longer, and he always talks about flipping over that game board and heading back to go, The journey starts again, and each NFL team is 0-0 right now. And I love the analogy that Sean uses because I think it's one anyone who's ever played a board game can understand. You know, you're playing Candyland or Chutes and Ladders or Monopoly or whatever. Yeah, there's all kinds of pieces on the board, and everyone's going around. And if you want to play another round, boop, turn it over. We all start again, and Sean loves to continue to bring that up. But I think you're hitting on something really important. I think last year he had to boost these guys with the confidence. You can go to the Super Bowl. I've done this a long time. You guys check the boxes. This year, it would not shock anyone if the Denver Broncos go to the Super Bowl. That's what happens when you go 14-3 and reach the AFC title game. It's the next logical step. Therefore, Sean doesn't need to harp because the Broncos need to have the mentality that they are a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, I'm curious if the messaging even reverts to the other side of saying, hey, you guys haven't done squat yet. You were the number one seed in the AFC, and you hosted the AFC Championship, but he still needs to hold these guys accountable and make sure that they're doing everything day in and day out like they were a year ago when they were hungry. And it's a little bit tougher to do that when you're the division winner and the target's on your back now. So I'm curious to see if the messaging almost flips to the other side of it of don't get too high in your laurels. You got to go out there and still earn this thing.
Exactly. And you can't read the press clippings too much because this schedule could slap you in the face, much like we heard Pat Surtain talk about yesterday when he was asked about Super Bowl or bust. He's like, we got to get off to a hot start, you know, and Surtain's going to know that better than anyone facing Patrick Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence, Matthew Stafford, Brock Purdy, Justin Herbert, and Sam Darnold in the first 6 weeks of the season.
And on top of that, every year we see teams that made the playoffs the year before not make the playoffs.
Correct.
And you just want to make sure that's not you this case.
No, you don't want to go from 14-3 to 8-9. That would be embarrassing. You would have egg on your face. And the AFC is competitive. I mean, what's it going to take to get in? Probably 10 just to
More than that. I think the 6th seed last year was 12 wins. I want to say Buffalo was the 6th seed, and they won 12 games.
What was the 7th seed? Because that's the last team in, right? Because 7 make the playoffs now?
Yes.
7-2, 6-3, 5-4 with the 1 getting a bye.
I would assume 11 games at that point, but I can pull it up here.
Yeah, I got it here, too, right in front of me. So in the NFC last year, the last team in the dance was the Green Bay Packers at 9-7-1. They had a funky little tie that helped them get past the Lions and Vikings, who were 9-8. So 9-7-1, okay. That doesn't seem great. But in the AFC, you're right. The last team in was the 11-6 LA Chargers. It took 11 to make the dance a season ago. Now, there was no one a game behind them. There's a couple teams 2 games behind them. The Colts completely fell apart, went 8-9, and the Ravens disappointingly went 8-9. But yeah, you just said it. Teams go from playoffs, deep run, to not even making the postseason. And the Broncos schedule is hard enough that I think they could play good ball this year and go 10-7. I really do, especially if they don't get some of those breaks in the one-score close games.
Yeah, and we're talking about a playoffs last year that didn't have Joe Burrow in the Bengals, that didn't have Patrick Mahomes in the Chiefs, that didn't have Lamar Jackson in the Ravens, or even Daniel Jones in that Colts team started off really well before Daniel Jones went down. And people may call that fraudulent, but either way, they were on the path of going to the playoffs. It appeared prior to that injury. So the AFC is going to be very competitive. I think this team's going to need to go out there and win 11 games to make sure they're in this this playoff format here. So I'm excited for them to get out there. And you're right, you can play good ball and still go 10-7. It might take them playing really good ball to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and there's only 16 teams in each conference. 7 make the postseason. Just going through it with you real quick, there's only 5 teams that suck. There's going to be 11 teams looking for 7 spots. Now, the teams that suck are the Titans, the Jets, the Raiders, the Browns, and the Dolphins. Those are the 5 poor teams in the AFC. But the teams that didn't make it last year, the Chiefs certainly could be in. The Bengals certainly could be in. The Ravens certainly could be in. The Colts, a little iffy, but I'm not going to say they suck. And then you have the 7 who made the dance, the Chargers, the Bills, the Texans, the Steelers, the Jaguars, the Patriots, and the Broncos.
And none of those teams took huge steps backwards in any way.
So you're, like, if we were doing sports talk in all 16 markets, 11 of those 16 markets are focused on the playoffs. Now, there's going to be homers in every market, but realistic hosts in Miami, in Cleveland, and New York with the Jets, Tennessee, and Vegas, no, they're probably not going to make the dance. So, yes, 11 teams vying for 7 spots in the AFC. Sean also got asked what makes the Broncos a Super Bowl contending team.
Last year at this time, you said that you felt you had a certain number of teams that you coached that could win the Super Bowl. You cited last year's team around.
Yeah, this is one of them.
What makes this team this year one of those teams?
Well, I think You have to play good defense to be one of those teams. I think you have to be able to get good quarterback play. I think you have to be good in the offense and defensive line. And I think you have to be well coached, and I think we're all the above.
Defense, quarterback play, offensive line, defensive line, and well coached. I think we're all of the above. Once the question got spit out, it was about an 8-second answer. This wasn't him sitting down with Charles Robinson for 2 hours and spilling everything out, sitting down with Seth Wickersham for 10 days and spilling everything out. It was an 8-second answer, but he didn't dispute anything. He said, we're all the above. Defense, quarterback, couple of lines, good coaching staff. They do have all the ingredients. That's the exciting thing about the Broncos is, yes, we can debate, and I know we had a little fun with it. We can debate where Bo Nix falls on the list. We can debate who wide receiver 3 should be. We can debate if they have enough at middle linebacker with Singleton and Stranad. We can debate about the first-round pick last year, Jahdae Barron. Is he going to be a bust? Is he not? But there is no overwhelming holes on this team that make me think they can't win the Super Bowl.
No, and there's no excuses. Outside of maybe a Bo Nix injury, I think that's the only excuse that we can use for this team not to go back to at least the divisional round. I think divisional round or bust at this point. Anything besides that is a disappointment of a season. And if you really have high hopes for this team, you can go even further to, hey, this team needs to make it to the conference championship, or hey, this team needs to make it to the Super Bowl. But I think we can all agree that they need to be one of the final 4 teams in the AFC remaining. And there's no reason that they can't be or shouldn't be.
And once you're at that point, there is an element of luck a little bit, because it's just going to be good teams. You had to play Buffalo in that round last year. And obviously, the Broncos defense stepped up at the most opportune times. They turned Josh Allen over 5 times, but they still would have lost the game if Brandon Cooks had held onto the ball for a quarter second longer, because then Buffalo would have had a walk-off field goal, a chip shot from former Broncos kicker, current Bills kicker, Matt Prater. So there is an element of luck. I'm with you. Once you get to the Final Four, it's a toss-up. I mean, Sean Payton's probably been to the final really, it's the Final Four of the conference, Elite 8 overall. Sean Payton's been to the divisional round 10 times in his career. He got 1 ring. It's hard to get from that NFL version of the Elite 8. And, of course, Sean has very infamous losses. The non-PI call against the Rams, the Minnesota Miracle, heck, the Blizzard. It needs a name. The game here last year, Bo Nix breaking his ankle, added to the list of heartbreaking ones Sean Payton has suffered, deep into the playoffs. Speaking of that game against the Bills, there was something funky that happened. They almost went for it on 4th and 11. We learned that in the Seth Wickersham article. Sean Payton clarified today. Dante and I'll hit that coming up next.
They're back. Our free limited edition Training Camp 2026 t-shirts. We currently have drops at various international hot tubs locations across the metro area. Limit 1 per person while supplies last. For more details and to find the location nearest you, head to DenverSports.com/shirt.
Summer is a time to feel and look your best, but I'm not talking about your tan or abs. Guys, I'm talking about your hair. Restore that bald spot, reverse your receding hairline, or add volume to decades of thinning during Advanced Hair's once yearly summer savings event. Advanced Hair's simple 1-day treatment begins to regrow your own natural hair the very next day, and it can even grow for life. Did I mention Advanced Hair even guarantees your new hair will grow? Take advantage of your flexible summer calendar and get the most hair for your dollar during Advanced Hair's best offer ever. The summer sales event is on for a limited time, so schedule your free consultation and get the details today. 720-459-HAIR. 1-day treatment, life-changing results with Advanced Hair. Your new hair is guaranteed to grow. Check out the incredible before and afters and get your savings details while still available. That's 720-459-HAIR. or advancedhair.com.
When you see this in your kitchen,
the stainless steel fridge is covered in fingerprints.
You hear this.
Leslie, people are going to think you were raised in a barn or by wolves, or raised in a barn by wolves.
Fortunately, Wyman Stainless Steel 3-in-1 cleans, shines, and protects to give you the best shine. A spray and a wipe will have your fridge shining like a mirror.
Wow, my fridge looks brand new. Your fridge looks amazing, Leslie. Sorry, I was being a little dramatic earlier.
Your kitchen says a lot about you. Let it brag with Wyman.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. But at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited everything for just $35 a line. That's $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data. Switch to the carrier ranked #1 in network coverage and customer satisfaction and get unlimited everything for just $35 a month. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit Consumer Cellular online or in-store today. Price includes $5 credit for autopay and e-billing. Taxes and fees apply. Data speeds reduced after 35 gigabytes. Rankings done by 2025 ACSI survey.
The Drive is heading to Saddle Rock Golf Course July 31st from 2 to 6 p.m. Join Zach Bai and Philip Lindsay at the former home of the Colorado Open. Breathtaking panoramic views and an unforgettable course layout. The Drive, live at Saddle Rock Golf Course July 31st.
Anna had a very severe brain injury.
My dad got in contact with Berg Simpson.
They didn't think about the money. They thought about what was best for Anna. That's all that mattered to me, just making sure that she was okay.
Not only would I recommend Berg Simpson to others, I have recommended Berg Simpson to others.
If you've been injured, call Berg Simpson for free now at 303-790-2525. BergSimpson.com. Good lawyers changing lives.
Don't care for my local hometown team, ROX rocks heating and air. Don't get fooled by out-of-state private equity corporations that are buying local HVAC companies, offering higher prices, bad service, and shady sales tactics. Don't trust your home to someone out of state when you have the best company right here in town. ROX are experts in local energy rebates and tax credits to save you money only at ROX rocks heating and air. Now play that jingle.
HVAC service, installation, repair. ROX rocks heating and air.
Men, if your energy is down, your workouts aren't producing results, you're gaining stubborn weight, losing muscle, sleeping poorly, or just not feeling like yourself anymore, it may be more than just aging. This is Jeff for the Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic. Our low T and body composition treatments are designed to help men regain energy, improve focus, sleep better, build lean muscle, reduce unwanted fat, and restore confidence both in and out of the gym. At the Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, we specialize in helping men optimize their health, performance, and vitality. Using personalized medical treatments tailored to your health and goals, many men begin noticing improvements in energy, mental clarity, recovery, motivation, libido, and overall body composition within just a few weeks. Your initial visit is just $99 and includes blood work, PSA and T-test, and a medical consult. And if you start on treatment the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Call 720-440-7900 or go to RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. We have 5 offices across the Front Range to serve you.
Featured therapies are compounded and have not been evaluated nor approved by the FDA. Provider prescription required. See website for details.
Hi, Dan Cicchini, Done Right Home Improvements. For an 8% scheduling incentive and a special financing rate of 0% APR with 72 equal monthly payments, go to drhi.com. Kitchens, baths, counters, and floors. Finished basements, windows, and doors. You have our word, we'll treat you right at Done Right.
Hey guys, Mark Schlereth here. When I'm looking for a place that delivers big on flavor and has an awesome atmosphere, I head to Jack's. Locally owned with locations in Denver on Pearl Street and the new flagship in Lone Tree at Park Meadows Drive. Jack serves premium Australian Wagyu, incredible seafood, and chef-driven dry-aged specialties. Grab lunch, enjoy social hour from 3 to 5, or make it a date night. And don't miss the Blind Tiger Speakeasy. Jack's, where upscale meets comfortable.
It's Denver Sports Tonight on Denver Sports Station 104.3 The Fan.
We will get to what Sean Payton said about that 4th and 11 decision against Buffalo last year in a moment, but just in the last 20 minutes or so, the Pro Football Hall of Fame has announced that Sean Payton will present Drew Brees for the class of 2026 enshrinement. Very cool. Makes sense. Obviously, Sean and Drew had so much success together in New Orleans, still close friends to this day. But Sean Payton will be presenting Drew Brees, so that means Sean Payton will be in Canton, Ohio on Saturday, August 8th, and not at Broncos practice. Not that I care. I'm not going to make a big stink about that, but the Broncos have announced their camp schedule. They had practice on Saturday, August 8th. Sean Payton cannot be in 2 places at once. Certainly an excused absence. I'm sure he ran it by his bosses, Greg Penner and Kerry Walton Penner, but just a fun little nugget, Dante, that Sean Payton will be the one presenting Drew Brees enshrinement here in about 10 days.
Yeah, very cool. And it just speaks to the relationship that Sean Payton and Drew Brees still have, that he's going to be the one introducing him. So I'm okay with it that he's missing 1 day of practice. I don't think it's the end of the world by any means.
Yeah, private jets do exist, and the Broncos have access to many of private jets. He'll probably fly out Friday night after practice, meet up with Drew. It's the gold jacket dinner ceremony. I'm sure they'll have some fun there. Got the parade Saturday morning and then enshrinement Saturday afternoon. And I'm sure he'll be back on a plane either Saturday night or Sunday morning. The Broncos are off on Sundays during camp, so he's not due back at Broncos Park, powered by Common Spirit, until Monday. I'm sure Sean will get asked about this next time he meets with the media, which will be on Friday. We'll hear from a couple more players tomorrow after the last day of the acclimation period. Dante, the Wickersham article, the long one that was like a mini novel. It took me 45 minutes to read, and I consider myself a pretty fast reader. It's one of those ones like, oh, I'll check this out. And then I started scrolling. It was like, oh, I need to block off time. This is not a 3-minute read. This is, when do I have 45 minutes to dive through this entire piece?
I kind of regretted starting it on my phone. I wish I would have pulled it up on like a laptop or computer or something like that, because it was that big of a piece that you can get lost a little bit while you're scrolling.
Well, one of the key things in there was the Broncos almost went for it in overtime on 4th and 11 against the Buffalo Bills. Now, remember, they got the ball, had a terrible drive, and they lined up in punt formation, but there was a chance they were going to fake the punt, which would have been one of the more controversial decisions in Denver sports history. And I don't think that's hyperbole. I mean, if you don't get 4th and 11 on a failed fake punt, you are giving them a chip shot field goal to end your season. Now, if you do get it, I understand the thinking behind it. Josh Allen may not touch the football. And Josh Allen touching the football is always a scary thing. Now, luckily, Jaquan McMillan made an unbelievable play, ripping the ball away from Brandon Cooks. But, whew, if he had gone for it 4th and 11 and gotten it on some sort of elaborate fake, Sean Payton would have been a hero, biggest stones in town, all that stuff. If he hadn't gotten it, people would be saying he's Nathaniel Hackett, he's Josh McDaniels, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's one of the worst coaches in Broncos history. Luckily, the Broncos players did indeed check out of it. They didn't have the look they wanted. Tyler Bidet, of all people, maybe saving Sean Payton's skin a little bit on that. But he got asked about today, did you actually consider faking a punt on 4th and 11?
We're going to fake punt, 4th and 11? Really?
All right. Yes. So I golfed with Josh this summer one afternoon. He was my partner. We won. In the first playoff game in Buffalo, I remember we had run a fake punt in that game. It was the first half. We just wanted something late in the game. We've got the lead, and we aren't able to get the first down. And we've kind of seen this script, to a player. And this is a great sign of respect for, I think one of the better elite quarterbacks in our league. And we looked at it again in this playoff game. If we were in that position where we're punting and a field goal is going to win it, and I'll be darned, we were in that position. The front, 6-man front, 7-man front, 8-man front was a little nebulous, between 6 and 8, and totally saw the candid call. But yeah, I felt real good about getting 14 yards as opposed to now we canned it and punted out at the 1, and it worked out.
I love that. So much to unpack there. First of all, played golf with Josh Allen. Good little name drop there, Sean. Would have loved to be a fly in the air on that round. Would have been fun to see what those two talked about, because the last time Sean Payton and Josh Allen were near each other, Josh was once again making the sad walk off an NFL field where his season ended short of the Super Bowl, and the Broncos and Broncos country were super elated for an hour. And then Sean had a second press conference, and we know how that went. But also, great sign of respect. We don't want to give him the ball, especially if he only needs a field goal to win. I think they were this close, and you can watch this on YouTube. I'm showing you my fingers right now. They're about an inch apart. I think they were this close to actually doing it. And imagine the last 6 months we would have had succeed or fail if that had actually happened.
Yeah, that would have been the highest of the highs or the lowest of the lows. I agree with the sentiment of not wanting to give Josh Allen the football back, but I've always been a believer in you put your offense out there to get those 11 yards. I just don't like the idea of putting the ball in someone's hands. That's not Bo Nix. And Bo Nix is the reason that you got to be 14-3, the reason you're hosting that playoff game there. I would have rather had the ball in his hands than try to do some trickery and catch them off guard.
But you lose the element of surprise. Like 4th and 11 is a low percentage play regardless. And I understand what you're saying. Excuse me. You want the ball in Bo's hands, not in Jeremy Crawshaw's hands. I get all of that. But I think if they had actually pulled the trigger, it would have been, we're getting these 11 yards because the Bills are in some safe, package, or they're trying to block the punt. We can go, like, they're in some sort of design, and he got into that a little bit that we like. So I'm with you. yes, if someone said tomorrow, hey, you need 11 yards, you taking Bo Nix or Jeremy Crawshaw? Of course I'm taking Bo Nix. It's a no-brainer, but I do think the element of surprise sort of balances that out a little bit.
It's one of those where it better work at that point because you're going to get crushed if it doesn't go the way that you want it to go and you lose because of that, especially us knowing the result of the game ended up being a Broncos win. You better be very sure that you're going to get those 11 yards with Jeremy Crawshaw or Tyler Bidet or whoever the play was drawn up for.
Yeah, no, exactly. It would have been a fascinating 6 months if they had actually done it. All right, I want to give you a few moments here, Dante. You were out there today. I was not out there today. I'll be out there a handful of times throughout camp, but the floor is yours, my friend. Before we get some nuggets in our final segment, what were some of your biggest observations from Broncos camp today?
It was only 7-on-7 while they were out there, but the offense looked really good. And typically, that's not something you hear early in camp. Typically, the defense is the one winning the day just because it's a lot easier when you first get out there to have the timing down as defense versus an offense. So I was really impressed by the offense, and that goes for all three quarterbacks, Bo Nix, Jared Stidham, Sam Ehlinger. So I thought that was a good sign that it's not going to be maybe what we saw 2 years ago where the defense dominates, or maybe what we saw 3 years ago when Russell Wilson couldn't really get the offense jump-started as well. I think that's a sign of things to come and a good sign of things to come for this Broncos team.
Well, I love that. I'd love a training camp where we are talking about the offense outplaying the defense because it's been year after year after year, like you just outlined. They can't move the ball. They can't move the football. What's going on? And there's always two ways to talk about that. Oh, the Broncos have an elite defense, and if they were going against a Bengals defense every day in practice, they'd be moving the ball. The other side of that coin is, can they do anything? You know, I remember Russell Wilson's first year. This was the Hackett year, going out to camp and being like, it's Russ, baby, let's go. This is going to be awesome. I've watched Case Keenum and Joe Flacco and Trevor Siemian and Paxton Lynch, and then Russell Wilson couldn't move the ball. Now, that was foreshadowing things to come. Russ was clearly not the same guy he was as his peak in Seattle, but I think it would be a nice change of pace for us, for the listeners, for the fans that are lucky enough to go if that pattern continues, although I appreciate your caution of it was indeed 7-on-7, not 11-on-11.
7-on-7, no pads either, so I think we'll truly know. I'm assuming next week at some point we'll see these guys in pads do that full 11-on-11 team drills, but again, it was an early sign, I believe, that the offense is going to be much improved than what we've seen I don't know, the last, decade at training camp?
Yeah, no, training camp hasn't really been fun to watch from an offensive perspective since Peyton Manning was here, if I'm just being honest. What about the new facility, all that? Obviously, the media has been shuffled around. I assume you saw the shade that the fans will get as well. What are the vibes? Does it still feel like the same old place, or does it feel like this brand new Broncos Park powered by Common Spirit?
Oh, it's the latter. It's a brand new place down there. It's beautiful, state-of-the-art. I think all the players are really going to like it, and I think that can be especially a year after you lose in the AFC Championship the way you do in such a heartbreaking way, I think that can be a real positive, showing up to work every day and be like, wow, what a beautiful building that we get to go into, and it's only going to make them want to work harder, I believe. So I think the new facility couldn't have come at a better time, but that thing is beautiful. Hopefully one day we'll, as a media, get a tour of the facility, but just from the, 1/8 of it that I've seen so far, it's absolutely beautiful, and I'm excited to spend the next, month or so out there.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a month of...
No shade for the media, which that's the only down part, but I'm not going to make it about myself. The facility itself and for the team and the players and the coaches is great.
I love to hear it. It's going to be a month of interesting storylines for sure, because even if you go into camp going, oh, we know everything. Everything's settled. I've done this long enough. You've done it. You've done it many years now. There's always going to be things that pop up. And there's going to be things that if I 3 weeks from now told you tonight, you'd go, what are you talking about? That's just the way training camp works. There's always going to be 2 or 3 stories that come out of left field.
Great setup for the fans, too. You mentioned that there.
Yeah.
They're off to the, north side of the fields. Big stands, very big, especially compared to what they had out there a year ago, I want to say, in place of the hill while they were doing construction. Big stands. It almost looks like I believe Miami Dolphins have a similar setup. Big awning over it as well. So the fans should be very happy to be out there.
Well, it's been so hot. I'm glad they're providing shade, and I want people to walk out of camp going, I had a good time. That was fun. not I'm hot and sweaty and miserable, which I saw plenty of people doing last year. Good on the Broncos, though, for letting anyone in. They could have easily said it's construction zone. No one is coming. So I'm not hating on what they did last year. I appreciate what they did, but it definitely sounds like this season will be an upgrade. All right, Dante's got a Nuggets take revolving Aaron Gordon. He's going to run by me coming up next.
What's the point in having the greatest player in franchise history if you aren't willing to do what it takes to win in his prime?
You have Jokic. Jokic is a basketball icon. Michael Jordan had 5 MVPs. Jokic has 3. He's in his prime. I think he's going to have another MVP caliber season. And we're talking about shedding salary. I'm telling you, if I was advising Jokic, I'd tell him to get the hell out of Denver, Colorado. And no one wants to hear that. But there's a reason he hasn't signed that contract. And everyone agreed last summer he was signing it this summer. And now he's not signing it this summer. It's somehow nothing to see here. It drives me nuts.
Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 25% upfront bonus? And are they promising you up to 9% growth per year, all for your retirement income? If not, then you need to come to Trajan Wealth. Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. And if you plan to retire within the next 10 years, don't wait only to find out it's too late. I've seen hardworking folks like you retire only to be required to go back to work, all because their advisor told them guarantees like these were too good to be true. They aren't. That's up to $25,000 upfront or up to $9,000 per year on $100,000, guaranteed for retirement income. Don't keep working when you're supposed to be retired, and don't let any financial advisor tell you it's too good to be true. Unlock your Trajan family office at TrajanWealth.com or call 1-855-TRAJAN-1. That's 1-855-TRAJAN-1.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. DBA in most states has Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
This summer, there are 250 reasons to join T-Mobile.
Girls trip? Booked. And switching to T-Mobile helped make it happen.
With Experience Beyond, switch and get $100 back. Plus, $650 in value in built-in plan benefits. That's $750 in your first year, guaranteed.
And honestly, that $100 back, I'm putting it towards the zip line.
Now that's how you do summer.
Exactly. Best switch I ever made.
This is just one reason to join T-Mobile this summer. There are 250 reasons. Find yours.
Savings based on the value of benefits included with Experience Beyond, like entertainment and 1 year of AAA Classic and Dash Pass on Us. Benefits may require activation. See plan for details. Get $100 via virtual prepaid MasterCard with eligible ported, no cash access, and expires in 6 months. Issued by Sunrise Banks, N.A. member FDIC. Allow 8 weeks.
Jake from State Farm. I just beat my running PR, so I'm celebrating with the Banana Bonanza smoothie.
Hey, and you can keep celebrating when you create an affordable price just for you by bundling your home and auto with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. Go bananas.
I will. Hey, make it a large.
Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit information kit. 800-791-0000. That's 800-791-0000.
House calls? It's 2026. Doctors and lawyers don't make house calls anymore, right? Not true, actually. At 303 Law 4040, we always tell you about how we want to meet with you in person. Now, generally that means, yes, you come and meet my lovely wife, Kimberly, and I in our Denver Tech Center offices. But sometimes you're hurt, you're seriously injured. You're either still in the hospital or you can't move around, you don't have a car yet. And it's important to get a plan in place quickly when these things happen. So we'll come out, we'll do a house call. Heck, we had one house call recently. The dog came out and took a little ride in the DeLorean. It was fantastic. I'll bring the DeLorean to the house, but we're here to help. And actually, my lovely wife, Kimberly, says that's one of the best parts of the job is when we get to spend time together in somebody's living room, helping them out as they're in a tough spot because they were injured in an accident. So if you need us, go ahead, save that number in your phone, 303 Law 4040. That's 303 Law 4040.
Hi, I'm Donnie, owner of Fitness Gallery, where we believe there's nothing more important than your health. We can't stop time, but we can make your day more efficient, and we can help you get fit and stay fit.
Hey, Broncos country, I'm Terrell Davis. That's why I made the smart move to invest in fitness equipment with Fitness Gallery. It's a game changer. Work out on your schedule from the privacy of your own home.
At Fitness Gallery, we have the nation's lowest prices on the highest quality products that stand the test of time.
There's a difference between the cameras you buy at Home Depot and the cameras Vantage installs. Consumer cameras give you a grainy silhouette. Vantage cameras can read a license plate at the end of your driveway with full color night vision, 24/7 recording, and no monthly subscription fees, so you never miss a thing. Invest in real security for your home. Schedule a free Vantage Threat Zone Analysis report for your property. Call Vantage at 720-366-7759 or visit vssicolorado.com today.
Stream Stokely and Evans with Mark Schlereth, Dover and Cecil, The Drive, and all your favorite shows on the Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan app. Powered by Advanced Tax Solutions. Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan. Denver Sports Station 104.3 The Fan presents Denver Sports.
Really, I guess Saturday when the Oklahoma City Thunder first put an offer sheet in front of Spencer Jones. Nuggets ultimately matched that, 2 years, $12 million. Only NBA team in the second apron. And then you got not one, but two fascinating reports regarding Payton Watson. The first from Mark Stein. He could play on the qualifying offer this year. Only $6.5 million would be a bargain for the Nuggets, but could certainly fracture the relationship with Watson. And then Tony Jones of The Athletic says, yeah, they offered him a deal, 5 years, $75 million. 5 years, $70 million, $55 million less than Christian Brown. So you can understand why Payton Watson's camp is like, we want to make more than that guy because I'm a better player than him. So with that all in mind, Spencer Jones settled, Payton Watson not, second apron still up in the air. Dante's got something on Aaron Gordon he wants to run by me.
I do, and it has to do with the idea of they just completely run it back at this point. And Christian Brown is back, Cam Johnson's back, Payton Watson is back, and Spencer Jones, even if you want to factor him into this. But I think it's time for Aaron Gordon to start coming off the bench. And I know that maybe isn't the most popular take because of how beloved he is in Denver here, but I just don't get what's so bad about coming off the bench. I feel like it has this new stigma of, oh, if you're not a starter, well, how are you going to contribute to this team? But for years in San Antonio, we saw Manu Ginobili come off the bench and be a huge impact player for that Spurs team. Andre Iguodala for the Warriors came off the bench. He won Finals MVP coming off the bench for that Warriors team. So I just think that it makes more sense at this point. Iguodala was fifth on that Warriors team in minutes, but he didn't start a single regular season game that year for the Warriors.
Wow.
He started 3 postseason games for the Warriors that year. And
was that the year he won Finals MVP?
It was 2014-15.
Did he win Finals MVP primarily coming off the bench in that series? That's crazy.
Yeah,
okay,
right?
Good
So
example.
It's just a good example of how impactful you can still be while coming off the bench. And I think it'll give Aaron Gordon a good chance of being healthy throughout the year in a way that we haven't been able to see him do that the last couple of years. So I think you can start Payton Watson, you can start Spencer Jones, you can kind of figure that out down the road there. But I just think that again, he can be a big minutes guy, but it's going to preserve his legs just a little bit more if he's in that role.
Well,
and he can finish games still. The closing roster or the closing 5 is going to be decided on a night-to-night basis. I'm not saying he's not going to be included in that. It's just more the season preservation of him.
Yeah, and when you first brought it up and just a little peek behind the curtain, Dante said, you want to know? And I said, I don't. Save it for the air. So this is the first time I'm hearing this idea of Aaron Gordon off the bench. I think you're the first one in town to bring it up, so credit to you. I've not heard it anywhere else. My mind immediately went to health, for sure. How do you preserve those legs? Maybe coming off the bench, not the worst idea in the world, especially on nights early in the season because you're coming off the bench. Dude, you're only playing 20 minutes, and that's where we're going to cap you. A lot easier to do that for a quote-unquote bench player than it is a starter. I also like what you're saying that, yes, if you are playing Oklahoma City and it's tied with 4 minutes left, just because Aaron Gordon didn't start the game doesn't mean he can't finish the game. That would be critical as well. So let's go through it. You'd start Jamal at the 1, Christian at the 2, Cam at the 3, Payton at the 4, and Nicola at the 5, I guess.
Yeah.
And then your bench would be Aaron Gordon, Spencer Jones, and Julian Strother, or some second-round picks, or however the rotation ultimately shakes out.
Yeah, Tyce Jones, I believe, is
Marvin
supposed to be
Bagley
in the mix.
could
Marvin
be in the mix as
Bagley.
well. Yep.
Yeah. So whatever mix it is there, and what a punch you get off the bench if you have Aaron Gordon out there. We've seen his offensive game transition in the last couple years to where he can. I don't know. I always struggle to watch the Nuggets when Jamal Murray's out there with all those bench guys, because it's the Jamal Murray show, and he's not necessarily good enough sometimes for it to be the Jamal Murray show. Imagine if you had Aaron Gordon by his side for a lot of those minutes.
Yeah, Jamal kind of just dribbles the air out of the basketball, and I don't know if that's necessarily Jamal's fault. You know, you watch the broadcast, someone's got to cut. Next thing you know, the shot clock's at 7 seconds, and Jamal's dribbling 10 more times and taking an off-balance jumper. So I don't hate the idea at all. My mind goes to, would Aaron accept that? You know, he's a great guy. Literally danced through the streets with the fans after they won the title, but that's a blow to the ego. So would Aaron Gordon accept that? I think would be critical. And then also, does that eventually hurt his trade value? Because if you're trying to get under the second apron, yes, Cam Johnson's name gets tossed around, Jamal Murray's, Christian Brown. Everyone would love to trade Christian Brown. It's just not feasible. Would teams all of a sudden say, well, we got to give you less for Aaron Gordon because he's a bench player now? They could just use that as a negotiating tool in theory.
Well, in this case, hopefully you're not trading him. Hopefully he's a part of this organization until he retires at this point.
That'd be great.
And the bench move adds to the longevity of his career and the impact he's able to make. So I think it would also let the starters, especially Cam Johnson, Christian Brown, know that, hey, you can go out there and shoot this ball. We have Jamal Murray's out there, Nikola Jokic is out there, but there's not that third guy out there that really deserves that offensive high volume. And those guys, I think it'll give them a more aggressive mindset to start out those games as well.
Well, it would be really interesting if the Nuggets did indeed do that. So I like it. I appreciate you bringing that up. And, of course, all eyes on Peyton Watson and what's going to happen, because this thing could bleed into the fall at this point. There's no hard deadline. I guess training camp maybe would spur action, but he could also sign an offer sheet at any time. The Nuggets could, dump Zeke Naji, get back onto the second apron, and then attempt to do a sign and trade with Peyton Watson as well. So I'd say the biggest unanswered questions with the Nuggets is Peyton Watson, and with the Avs, it's Cale Makar. Other than that, it's all Broncos all the time, and we could not be more thrilled that football is back. He's Dante. I'm Will. It's DST on the Fan.
It's Training Camp 2026, Unfinished Business. Stokely and Evans with Mark Schlereth will kick things off starting at 6 a.m. Powered by Applied Technologies